Hi, thanks for joining me. I'm showing you some of the spreads that I like to use and giving you an opportunity to see what they look like when they're all laid out. I'm going to turn my table for this one so you can see this a little bit differently. This one spreads out horizontally. So this one I call a relationship shadow spread because what we're going to see is information about a relationship between two people and the hidden or shadow parts of that relationship that might need to be explored, including the relationship itself. So there's a lot of different spreads you can use for relationships. This is not the end-all one, but I think it's an interesting one, so I want to share it with you. So after we come to a question that we agree upon that is the right question to ask, then I'll shuffle the cards. Right now, in this example, I'm using the handle deck. I like to shuffle 3 times. If you're curious about why, feel free to ask. And then we'll lay out the cards. So first, I'm going to lay out a card about you to understand more about you and your situation and related to the question that you've asked about your relationship. So I lay that on my left side. I'm left-handed. Maybe it's just because that's natural. I like you on this side. Then I'm going to lay out a card for the other person in the relationship. Now, know that your relationship might be romantic, it might be work, it might be a peer, it might be someone you consider not an equal, but maybe someone who reports into you or you report up into at work. So it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship, but that tends to be the most common. So now I've got a situation between 2 people and I can see more about who they are. Then I'll pull a card to tell me more about the relationship, and I'll throw that in between in the middle. So now I've got 2 people and this card that would signify the relationship. Now I want to know a little bit more. So I'm going to go, what is the part that's hidden? What am I not seeing? Or what do I need to be aware of? And I'll start with the card that is you and pull that on the left-hand side. And then we'll talk about what that means and what it means in conjunction with the card that was originally pulled for you. Then I'll do the same thing for the individual who is the other person in the relationship. So now we have 2 hidden stories that could be the influence or cause for any stress in the relationship or the reason that you're coming to me to have a conversation in the first place. And then we'll do the same thing for the relationship itself. So now I have a card pulled that is hidden across all 3. And then we're going to talk about the relationship in a surface and a hidden aspect and talk about how those things coincide or clash. If necessary, what I might do then in order to answer more thoughtfully in a proactive way the steps that it takes to resolve the concern of the relationship, then I'll probably pull an action to take and an action to avoid. If that is sufficient in order to resolve where we need to go, then I usually stop there. Sometimes, though, we're looking for a potential outcome and we might just need one more card and that just gets pulled to throw a potential outcome on the bottom. But more often than not, these 3 cards don't get pulled. We stay here and that takes the majority of the time. Sometimes we'll add the other 3. Then what I like to do is, and you might have seen this in other videos, is I'll line up the cards based on their suit to see more about how these cards are presenting themselves and what that means for the reading that we're having. I think it's kind of fascinating and serendipitous that as I'm talking about a relationship spread that I pulled more cups than I did stones, swords, or wands. And I think that's interesting. So if this is interesting to you, then feel free to check out more about me and tarot readings and how you can get one by going to comingoutttarot.com.